All right, this video is going to go over 3 problems from homework number 28. The 3 problems I saw up on the homework parking lot. 27, 30, and 35. 27 and 30 kind of have the same flavor. So I'm going to go over them pretty quickly here. 27 gives you this information, the sign of alpha and the sign of beta. And it gives you, some information about where alpha and beta are. And it asks you to find the sign of alpha plus beta. So the first thing we're simply going to do is just apply the identity that we now know pretty well. It says the sine of an angle plus an angle. This would be the sine of alpha, the cosine of beta, plus the cosine of alpha times the sine of beta. Okay, so let's see what information we're given here. We're given the sine of alpha. That's 3/5. So that's 3/5. We're given the sine of beta, but we're not given the cosine of beta. So let me just leave that for a second. We're not given the cosine of alpha, but we are given the sine of beta. Okay, so now we need to find the cosines of these two angles. We know the sines of the two angles, and we also know where these angles are located. So, if I think of the unit circle, it says that alpha is between 0 and pi over 2. That means alpha is in the first quadrant. So I'm going to say that alpha, perhaps, is right here. Okay? Well, if it says the sine is 3/5, that means if we had a circle here, the radius would be 5, and the y-coordinate would be 3, which means the x-coordinate is 4, which means the cosine of this angle is 4/5. So that would be the cosine of alpha. Okay? We can do the same thing with beta. Beta, if we look at this, is between pi over 2 and pi. That means it's in the second quadrant. So beta is somewhere over here. Okay? And it says that the sine is 24/25. So that means the sine, or the y-coordinate is 24. The radius, or the hypotenuse, is 25. And this is another one of those triples, and it goes 7, 24, 25. So that's the x length. And the cosine here over in this quadrant is negative, and so this is negative 7/25. And then we've basically got it. So we have to do, negative 21, 125 plus 24 times 4 is 96, 125. And so I believe you end up with like, what is that, 75, 125? Which simplifies actually pretty nicely to 3/5. Okay, hopefully I didn't screw that up. I don't think I did. Looks good. Okay, but that's the general idea on 27. 30. All right, so 30 gives you this information. It gives you the secant, and it gives you the alpha, the tangent of beta, and it gives you where this thing is. And again, for 30, we're asked to find cosine of alpha plus beta. Okay, and so we know that that's cosine alpha, cosine beta, minus sine alpha, sine beta. Okay, so let's look at what information we're given. Well, we're not given any of these things, but we are given that the secant of alpha is 5/4. That means the cosine of alpha is 4/5. Okay, so we've got 4/5 here. Okay, and then again, alpha is between 0 and pi over 2. It's in the first quadrant. If the cosine is 4/5, then the sine must be 3/5. So that's the sine of alpha. Okay, the cosine of beta, we're not given anything about beta except for the tangent. Okay, now it says that the tangent is -1. All right, that's one of these special angles where it's either here or here. Okay, it's either 3 pi over 4 or 7 pi over 4. And if we look at the restrictions on beta, beta is between pi over 2 and pi, so it's got to be this angle. So it's 3 pi over 4, or whatever. Doesn't, I could say it's different. So let's do the problem. The cosine, actually the tangent is -1, and that's going to be a cosine of -√2/2 and a sine of +√2/2. So then we just have to finish the problem. So what do we get? -4√2/10 minus 3 root 2 over 10, and that's like negative 7 root 2 over 10. So that would be the final answer for number 30. And then finally, number 35 tells you to simplify this expression. Okay, so I'm just going to do something here. I'm going to change the tangents to sines over cosines. Okay, now I'm going to distribute this into this thing. Okay, so when I multiply cosine x cosine y by sine x over cosine x, the cosine x's cancel, and I'm left with sine x cosine y. Okay, I do the same thing I distributed here. Here the cosine y's cancel, and I'm left with plus cosine x sine y. Well, look at that. That is the sine of x plus y. Okay? So that's all there was to number 35. All right, hope this video was helpful, and I hope someone actually watched it.